What's up, YouTube? All right, today will be one of the first days of getting this prepped to go into the 240. This is my 5.7 liter LS1 out of a 2004 GTO. And today the goal is just to kind of get the wiring off and to point out some particular sensors and things like that, so you know, and I can remember myself. All right, so we have the starter here, and behind the starter we have the crankshaft position sensor, I believe that's what it's called, and of course you have the starter, you have the engine mount, the oil pan, that's going to be changed. All right, we have a ground down here on this bracket, so that's one ground. And we have our AC compressor, the AC line. Let's see what else we got. This looks like a tensioner. This is definitely a tensioner. AC, the wiring goes, or the belt goes around that way. We have harmonic balancer. I plan on changing for a new harmonic balancer, and that goes around the tensioner, around the water pump pulley, around the power steering, down around the alternator, and back and around. Okay, so it looks like the front, this front hose I believe connects from this side of the head, and inside here connects to that side of the head, and this should be a steam, I believe that's a steam port, and that will go to the radiator. Let's see, we have our coil packs, our coil pack connector. Up above we have our injectors. I believe this is what, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then on the driver's side is 1, 3, 5, 7. Coming around here, this was for the transmission. So we have our map, was the manifold absolute pressure. Then we have our camshaft sensor. Then everyone should know about the oil pressure sender. These things often can leak or go bad, so I need to change that. Then we have, this is open. I believe that's for a steam port. And then on the other side of this head, we should have a steam port as well. Are there any sensors over here? Oh yeah, we have our engine coolant temperature sensor, spark plugs. Let's see, I have this vacuum line. I believe this vacuum line will go to the brake booster. And then we have this line here. I'm not sure exactly where this goes into the throttle body here, so I have to figure out what that is. I believe this is what the IAC, idle air control, and our throttle position sensor. And I believe that's about it. Let's see if we can get the wiring off. I plan on buying a wiring specialties wiring harness, and I'm looking at keeping the AC, so I'm getting the additional AC wiring on with the wiring specialties. Also, what other thing to note? I'm curious if anyone has gotten the wiring specialties. They sell the adapters for the 240 gauge Would it make sense to run the adapters and use the stock gauge cluster, or just go with aftermarket meters? I do plan on going with an aftermarket oil pressure, oil temp, and what was the other one? Oil pressure, oil temp, and water temp. I believe those are the three that I'm going to go with. All right, well, that's the engine, so we'll take off the IAC, take off the throttle position sensor. He's wrapped around here. We still have the chain that I pulled it with. There we go. Pull these out of the way. That is the engine coolant temperature. Pull that out. I'm going to try not to break any of these, so if any of you need a stock 2004 GTO wiring harness with a T56 transmission, obviously, I mean, you get the harness that used the transmission, not the transmission. You get that, and if any of you need it, just let me know and we'll see what we could work out. All right, this should be the map, the manifold absolute pressure, I believe it is. And we have the cam down here. We've got the cam sensor. Then we have the oil pressure sensor. The crankshaft. Let's see how I'm gonna get to the. This looks like it's gonna be a real pain. Might just have to take the starter off to get to the crankshaft sensor. Can't quite get to it there. So yeah, I'll take the starter off. We'll take the coil plugs where it connects to the coil pack, the LS1 coil pack. I believe you can get a screwdriver and come back for the injectors. If you see down here, you squeeze that in and it'll pull off. You can get that one. Squeeze it in, it pulls off. Squeeze in, pulls off. And I'm wondering, with getting the AC wiring, if anyone's got the AC wiring done on their 240, if the wiring was done, all it took was to connect up to the compressor, and of course have, if it's just the hardware that needs to be connected, and it will work plugging right into the wiring specialties, plugging into the car, and it will work right away. I'm curious, does anybody know the answer to that? All right, let's get the 1.3. Is that the cam? I'm not sure exactly what this one is either. I have to look that one up as well. All right. So the whole left side of it, I just need to get the ground off of the back. All right, so I got all the wiring off. It's all clear. I'm leaving the vacuum hoses on for now because I want to just make sure I know where those go. That's good. All right, I was able to just get a screwdriver down in there and then pull out the plug, but probably gonna, my plans are to get a new starter as well as a new water pump and a new crankshaft pulley. I thought about getting a new alternator, but that will still be relatively easy to get to still. The starter, once you have the headers on, it gets really close and it's a real pain in the ass to get to it. So I'm going to change that, get a new one, or refurbished one before I put that in. That way I know at least that's good. The water pump, because you got to take all this stuff off and the radiator and all that stuff, I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'll go through what I'm changing on the inside as well in a later video. And of course the harmonic bouncer, I've heard from very high revving engines, the rubber ends up getting kind of oblong and it starts not being very well balanced. So I'm going to get an upgraded one of those. Once I get that, I'll order that stuff and get that stuff put on. But here I have the actual harness. If anybody needs it, I will put it up for sale. I have where it goes to the alternator. There's a starter over here. There's a ground, positive and negative battery cables, another connector. This wire was cut when I bought it, so I'm not exactly sure where that goes. But I have the ECM connectors. It goes all the way through. AC plug, all the other throttle position sensor, things like that. The injector plugs, and goes back into the transmission harness as well. All right. Well, we got a lot more to build, a lot more to do, and my goal is to be as step-by-step as possible. I've not seen anybody make a step-by-step or extremely well detailed YouTube videos of an LS swap. So that is my goal. I want to have everything that I do cataloged and marked for me and as well for you. Well, that's all I got for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.